What is up, guys, and welcome back to the Professional Opinion Show. Drum roll, we finally made it. Episode 12, the proverbial spot where 90% of podcasters never make it to, according to statistics made up on the fly by Spotify. So, congrats, man. We'll have to pat ourselves on the back for that one.
Well, we can't do that yet, right? We're at the fence. It's lucky number 13,
the intro.
right?
There it is. Yeah, we can wait. I know we've been talking about 12 for a while.
Yeah, that's everybody. Yeah. Well, that was my understanding. If I'm wrong, say I'm wrong, because I am a lot of times. But like everybody makes it to 12, right?
I got you. So next one is where we're really the cool guys.
Yeah, dude, all lucky right. Number 13 that you can't find on an elevator.
You know, it's also kind of silly that definitely not shooting for the spot where everybody else craps out, but it's kind of cool just to, see that.
I agree.
I follow, I know you're a big fan of Mr. Beast as well. His big thing, it'll kind of give us some more runway here. He's like, until you've recorded 100 videos or something, I don't want to hear about anything you're doing. So he's like, a lot of people ask me for advice. He says, go record 100 videos and I promise you'll be a better YouTuber.
Fair enough.
And I heard him say that too to some content creators too. So yeah, man, maybe that's our next flag in the sand, if you will. Unfortunately, though, I have to say, this was, I was looking back, getting ready for today at some of the analytics for the podcast, and this was about probably our worst week we've had in overall views and et cetera. So, which, it is what it is. Not why we're doing this. I think the people that are stuck around, the people we're probably actually doing this for. But, you know what? Nonetheless, I thought kind of spice things up a little bit today. I think we've been a little too PG lately. So,
oh, hell yeah, dude.
I know this is your bread and butter, but yeah, I've had something that bugs the hell out of me, and I want to get your thoughts on it. So, probably relevant to the parents out there who kids are in school level, like not brand newborns, but this issue is with these private school families, man. What's the deal with the Catholic kids, and how did they get so cool and their parents, just bee's knees? This is maybe something that is just relevant in my little town, because we have the city school, public school, or the city school is the public school, and then we have the one Catholic school, high school, that if you went there, you are royalty around here, and if you didn't, it's good talk, Which is cool. And I guess before we dig in, this particular school is Catholic, so it's probably a lot of my views are that way. I have no problem whatsoever. If you are, you follow the religion, you want your kids to be raised that way. I think that's probably the original intent of why they started this school.
Yeah.
However, what it really morphed into is everyone else is using it as a status symbol, and then it's a generational status symbol. It's okay, so my parents went there, so now and this is where it's becoming most common with my friends who have kids that are about that age. Well, my kids went there, but then I go off and marry this other guy who, hey, neither one of us even go to church, but all of a sudden our kids are of age, so now we have to follow this same start following these footsteps, or one way they're failures to our family, or when we go out in public, it's oh well, yeah, married this guy from the city school, we're sending our kids to the they feel like poverty talking to them. It's wake the hell up, man. What the hell is going on here? Is that just my little town? Am I crying about my little situation, or do you see that? I know you've bounced around a bit.
Yeah, negative. No, there's a much bigger. You're really zoomed in, but the topic the topic that you're getting at is old as people, right? So, man, are you ready for this? I'm about to go off the rails, bro. Okay, so here's the issue, dude. And this is, it's so funny that this is what you brought up, because I was even in my own head today about this. This is going to, what I'm about to say, right? This is going to sound like I'm just spinning way left field. I promise you, dude. I promise you I'm going to bring it back. Okay?
All right.
I promise you I'm going to bring it back. So there's this invasion that has been going on in my life as of late, right? Like really recent for about 2 weeks now, right? and it's cancer. Like, so cancer keeps popping up in different ways in my circle of people, right? Some people have lost folks. One of my really, really good buddies, like call at 3 a.m., bring a shovel, no questions asked. He shows up, buddy. His wife is battling in the middle of a battle with it. And I have just, for everybody listening, I'm not going to spin around because my camera would do something stupid, but the back of my bald head like could be used as a like connect the dots kids book right now. And before we even started talking, I was telling Tyler I was just trying this new supplement. It's just a D3K2. It's a calcium supplement, and I was trying to replace my statin because statins, while they work and they control my cholesterol levels, they also weaken your joints and like tendons and whatnot. And every time I'm on it, like I can feel that. And as a strength coach, that's super annoying. And I was just like ranting because all this cancer that I keep hearing about from various people in my life and stuff that everyone's dealing with. I was really on this like tearing through our medical, like the way we do medicine in the United States. Because we don't cure anything, right? We still don't even know how to get rid of the common cold, mind you, right? Like we really don't. And the pharmaceutical companies and all that out there, like it's marketing. They're not going to give you a drug that helps you because then they'd be out of business, right? And so we have to stay with drugs and procedures that limit symptoms that are the cause of people's complaints, right? Which is a dangerous game because it's also the way that your body lets you know that something weird is going on, right? My wife, dude, I was actually like pretty nervous for her for about a week and a half because she had a fever, dude, and just couldn't shake it, right? And 8 days into this fever, and we're talking in the hundreds, right? Which is like, that's a big deal. And we had gone to the hospital and they ran all the tests and the stuff and the things. No flu, no COVID, no. They test her for UTI, for mono, for strep, like, and nothing, right? Absolutely nothing. And so the doc was like, who you could tell, dude, was kind of getting irritated with her because she's like, well, can we test for this, test for that? And he's like, it's a virus. Hands down, it's a virus, right? If we can't see it, it's some kind of little virus and you're just going to have to ride it out, right? And I don't, this is not to be offensive to anyone or you, but like for those who don't know, when your body starts hitting temps of like 104, like you need to be admitted because your organs will get so hot, like certain organ systems will start shutting down and like you'll die. And so I took her to the ER to get checked out, right? And she still, no one knows you better than yourself. And she's like, nah, something's up. And so we went to our primary care provider and she put her in for blood culture to try to find out like, hey, what's up? Right? And my wife, dude, she's hard-headed, and despite my stint in medical stuff and as nutty as I am with anatomy, physiology, she, you never listen to your spouse. It's just the way the game goes. And she was like, I don't want to take any, because I was like, hey, we cannot slip. We got to keep control of this fever. You could end up in the hurt locker in like a real way. And she was, the day she was going to do the blood culture, she was like, I'm not taking any medicines to control my fever. I want it to be like full blown so they could find something. Well, bro, that's not the way it works. It's not the way it works. If something's in your blood, like the fact that you're controlling your temperature, will not alleviate that from the Tylenol, will not hide, you know what I mean, something serious. Right. And so, but, she's 20, will be 21 years married this year. She hadn't listened to me the first, So anyways, so she comes back from this appointment, right? Which, by the way, they botched both blood cultures. Like when we got the findings back, it was like, oops, we did something wrong. And so I got on a Zoom call with the doc and was like, yo, no more tests. Like, doesn't matter. Like we need to act, like, because when she came through the door, dude, she looked like inebriated. And I was like, yo, what? And I immediately checked her temperature, dude, and she was 103.8. And I was like, swallow all these drugs right now, like, we need to call a doc. We're, or we're about to go to Sacred Heart and like get you hooked up. And come to find out, man, we still don't know exactly what, but our doctor's no dummy. So we told all the things, the whole story thus far, and they put her on a very strong antibiotic. She was already on an antibiotic, and they just dropped the strongest one they could give her. And luckily, things have improved drastically, in fact. But anyway, so it's some kind of bacteria. So the first doctor that was like, yo, it's a virus, like, she would have just killed over listening to this bozo. I shouldn't say that. I mean, whatever. I'm sure he's fine. But anyways, so I'm sitting there. I was dealing with that with Kim. Ty got strep at the same time, and my son, and then all this other cancer and stuff. So I'm like just super, like just sitting here, just like kind of pissed, dude, at like, and not an individual, and I'm about to swing it back, right? But at these societies and these puppet masters, right? And like, I didn't even tell my friend, dude, but I was having this conversation because he's in it, right? Like, he's my buddy whose wife is dealing with this cancer right now, dude. She's already got a colostomy bag out and like, like this whole crap. And like, I was talking to my mom about this, right? And my mom's Alabama through and through, old school, with, all the like doesn't like change, you know what I mean? Like, slow to compromise or like, you know what I mean? Just like, they pretty much set in their ways kind of deal, Right. She has gotten much better than she used to be, but we were sitting there talking, her brother, this is also a sensitive topic to her. Her brother died of stage 4 cancer, colon cancer, early. Like, I think he was in his early 50s, right? And, he did the chemo and all that. He got some extra years in there. But anyway, so we're sitting there talking, and I was expressing my frustrations with the medical community. And here we go, talking about PG, right? And I brought it all the way back to COVID and how we forgot like the basics of science that we've been learning about our whole life. And we pretended that this stupid mask could control, atoms and cellular level stuff floating through the air. And that if we, people watching their like moms and dads die through the glass, even though they're sitting in the same HVAC system pumping all the same crap in the air through the entire building and acting like something special was going on by not just I was just ranting about how stupid that made us as people, not even as a country, because the world was going bonkers over this, right? And not that that's like a rarity, because I mean, let's not forget, dude, like, we got to put stickers on lawnmower that say don't stick your hand in the moving blade. Right. So that's how you get to these places, because there's always these weirdos walking around that are like, oh my, bro, there were people driving in their cars wearing masks alone.
I've seen that, right, by themselves. Who you saving, man?
I mean, that happened, right? And double masking and what it, like, anyways, I don't want to, and sorry.
Dude, my favorite, did you see any of the memes where people got goggles and with a snorkel on it, like just random stuff, like walking through,
and like,
dude, that is man.
And here's the deal, right? Like, I try to see the whole coin to include the edges, and like, I know, man, like, COVID killed a lot of people, and I get that, and it didn't kill as many people as was reported. Because if you got in a car crash and you were a COVID carrier, they said COVID killed you. Right. So don't fall for that. But so anyways, I'm ranting about this, the medical companies, the pharmaceutical companies, the whole kit and caboodle, all these bureaucracies tied into this BS to turn a coin, right? I told my mom, I was like, I tell you what, like, if I got cancer today, I am not doing chemo. I'm not doing chemo. I'm not doing radiation. She unloaded on me and like, just cussed me up and down, dude. Like, you will do it just out of respect for me, and you are not going to quit, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, who said to quit? Nobody said anything about quitting. No one. Like, I'm saying I'm not falling for this same old bull. Like, this whole like let me fry myself with radiation to try to get the superficial cells that have gone awry, and then poison myself to damn near death and hope that I killed this in the process, right? And then bounce back. Because that is the process. That's what we do right now. It is equivalent, dude. It really is. Like, it's not the exact same picture, but it's very reminiscent of back in the day when you would get sick and doctors would come in, cut you on a big, not a artery, I don't believe, but like a big vein or whatever, and just let you bleed out, stop the bleeding when you turned ghost, and then hope that the infection or whatever like was gone, right? And I get that's like archaic old school medicine, but we're kind of doing the same thing. Now we're just doing it with chemicals, and we're doing it at a cellular level rather than in your face, like you're just bleeding out for a couple of days, and then we shove some more dirty tissue in there. You get septic and end up dying anyway. But so I told my mom, I was like, Mom, do you know how much evidence is out there that hold on, I'll tell you. We'll get dinged by the government real quick and get all kinds of attention. I don't know if you're familiar with this. I'm going to say these all wrong. I'm going to botch them, right? But there are multiple case studies of not only cancer, but stage 4, right? And like bad ones, like lung, like, where it, once it hits, it's typically a death sentence, right? Amongst certain communities, right? We don't hear about this, but amongst certain communities, like your Catholic kids, right? Ivermectin, fembenzodiazole.
I was gonna bring that up.
Methylene
Ivermectin.
blue.
I've heard that one a lot.
Yeah.
Yep,
Well,
heard that
no,
one
these
too,
these three combined, I can't see, but the combination of and certain dosages of these three things combined have been known to completely, not only like remission, but like you go get scanned, no trace, right? None of which expose you to radiation, take you down to damn near death, throwing up, and all this just wanting to die scenarios, and even more so, right? Medical expenses, hospital stays, insurance coverages, all right? Like, because
all that shit's over the counter, right? I mean, you can
yes,
just go
sir.
grab that shit.
You can get on Amazon right now and buy all of those.
That's not what they want, man.
No, not at all, dude. And in fact, like I imagine a bunch of people have heard about this now, especially the ivermectin or however it's pronounced. So it'll probably be the first to go because it's the same. And I say that in all honesty because as someone in the sports fitness world, dude, I watch almost on a weekly basis that the FDA they spend more money hunting down supplements in the fitness industry that have proven to work, right? That like, I mean, they only haven't banned creatine because they can't find anything to say that like it has bad side effects. That's why they can't get rid of it, right? Because you make it, your body makes creatine, right? But if you supplement it, like it does a lot for your brain health and other things, not just like muscle, right? Like it's really good supplementation. But anytime they have found anything, like when ephedrine came out, people had it was next to it was Ozempic level type drug that didn't cost an arm and a leg. Ozempic it works very well, dude. But they have since found out like, hey, when we do make these, we'll just hang a price tag on it. That again, you need to be at a certain school, at a certain level, right? And so what you're talking about with your kid, man, this is old as time, bro. And in fact, what pisses me off the most about it all is I was deep in my head about this morning, dude, because I was just like, I mean, I went in the gym, worked out for like an hour and 45 minutes trying to get these demons out so I could be bubbly and positive to the people that I need to be that for. Right. But I was just like, I don't know, dude. I was in a very dark, irritated place, just thinking like, why haven't we overthrown our government yet? Like, why are we completely okay and just deal with so much BS, dude, knowing that like we're getting screwed on every turn. It's just like you hear me complain about all the time with like insurance. Why is it written in law that I have to have this thing from this business, right? From this company, right? That, by the way, talks to all the other companies and let them know when they're about to make a big trade swing so their buddy can sit down. Damn, dude, Trump was just on the news, bro, openly talking to people up in the office about like, yeah, old buddy's about to make 900 million. That's a pretty good day, huh? Because they're swinging the market.
Oh,
Like
I saw that. Yeah.
openly talking about, dude, like inside trader information. Meanwhile, Martha Stewart has to be best friends with Snoop Dogg because she played the game and thought that she had a seat at the table and found out she did not, right? Even going back to the cancer thing, dude, yeah, there's a reason you don't hear a whole lot about prostate cancer because that's something males get. And all these old racist child molesting island goers up at the hill, dude, ain't going out like that, right? It was like there was nothing even more clear. So talking about these social groups, right? There was nothing more evident. Remember when AIDS came out?
Oh yeah.
Right?
That was I mean,
Who got AIDS?
Death sentence. I mean,
who got AIDS? It was. And who got AIDS? They were like, yeah, he'll be fine.
Yeah. What the hell?
Magic Johnson.
Yeah.
Wasn't nothing magic about why he was okay.
That cat's still around. Yeah.
Still around, dude. Still around. Still around. Because his pockets was deep. And he's fine. Right? Meanwhile, as someone down here on our level, right, they have since checked out. Right, because they couldn't fit the bill for whatever the tonic is, and like it's just no, dude, it's absurd. Not even that, dude. Let's go back to the insurance thing for a minute, right? So, all right, cool. You're in the right social class or whatever, and you've been on this upscale, and so you got your buddy to pull the deal, right? So let's not get mad. Let's say we're not being haters for who you know, right? Well, when is it okay to be like, hey, this is bullshit because I've been paying out to this company for a decade. When I finally need you, you're going to jack the rates on me for me to stay around, wow. Right? And then you're going to flag me in the system so that when I go over to your buddy's business, he's like, oh, he might actually have to pay out for this cat, right? And it's like, but it's just all okay, right? And to circle back to the how much money the FDA spends on testing out all these supplements, but you can go to the gas station, get a pack of cigarettes and a case of beer that we know will take you out, and it's no problem. Like,
dude, it's crazy.
And so my point being, like, this is not new, dude. This is not new. These social classes and these little groups and these, who knows, dude, what these cats really know that are pulling the strings that we don't, right? Who knows how? There's a reason that someone came up with the saying, ignorance is bliss, right? Because I can tell you, even from my little spec ops tours in the military, dude, there were times that we went out and did stuff that I was like, yo, this ain't got shit to do with bald eagles, fireworks, and a Star-Spangled Banner. Like, what are we do? You know what I mean? Seriously, like there was actually a time. You know, you've been on those flights. There were actually times that, like, I mean, I like was pretty chapped about, like, especially too because you know it's directly affecting me. Right, I'm away from the house, my family, and like, and for what? So this dude super frustrating.
Yeah, dude. Two things.
Sorry, hold on. Sorry. And even let's just zoom in back to the Catholic thing again, dude. This is nothing new, right? The church in the United States is Washington D.C. and it's broke up in 3 branches. If we rewind time, that same figurehead existed, but it existed at the church. They had the powers, dude. Even if you do call yourself religious, and you better read what that text says, dude, because there are clear verses in there where Jesus comes down and like just smashes on the boys at the church. Because what people forget is, like, it was written in a language that the poor people couldn't read, so they relied solely. I mean, talk about some super, like, you had to trust what your leadership was saying because everyone knew that this book had all the answers, and this was the power and what we needed to do, but you couldn't read it. And instead of people going, which I'm sure there were people, right? And I'm sure they were tossed out and chopped up. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Let's
those cats.
correct. We had one, and I'm gonna bring him up in just a minute. But like they're solely relying on, because of education, right? And not so much, let's not say education, let's use knowledge. They're solely relying on these people because the knowledge that they have and that they hold, right? And so they had to trust that what they were telling them was the truth. Now, the Bible was the number one selling book in history, right? The problem with the Bible is it has been in man's hand for a very, very long time. It has been translated, it has been rewritten, it has been, and now if you're a really nerd like me and you dig into it, there's all these there's chronicle things from the Bible. They're supposed to be like, these are straight up legit, and then there's like the pseudoscience books that someone decided back when these aren't real and tossed out. Or maybe it played with the power system, and so they didn't want you to read it, right? Yeah. Maybe it took a little bit of the keys away and gave people some insight information to allow them to question, right? And ain't nobody got time for questions. Just listen, listen to what I say as I do, not, you know what I mean? And so I think we're very much, nothing's changed. It's the same song and dance, right? The thing is now, though, instead of us not understanding the language that's in the book, bro, we just don't see the book. Like, they just don't even give you access. You know what I mean? To even try. It's very close kept, and it's so in our faces, just with the island thing. Like, why wasn't there? Let me ask you this, dude. Like, I understand nasty old rich man and like, you know, whatnot, but that's all that was on there. Like, figureheads, right? People in very the Duke, right? There was nobody. Jerry running the grill at McDonald's was not there. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and neither was Professor such and such at whatever university. No, it was a very elite class, right? And so the thing I think is so funny, man, is going back to what you're talking about, where these folks like turn their head up and stuff, like these parents and stuff. They do it because, and this is hard reality, dude. They do it because they can, because they're in the circle. That's why and it's like when Tiger Woods got caught cheating. Somebody said this to me best, dude. And I would like to think that in the context of which we're talking about, that we're better than this, but people were like, I can't believe Tiger Woods would do that. Well, yeah, because you're not Tiger Woods, and people aren't throwing themselves at you at every turn and corner that you go around, and at who knows what kind of form and fashion, right? Like, there's only so much like a man could take. This one dude explained to me one day, of which I will say, like, when we're talking about these psychopaths on the island, like, I know that ain't, you can piss off with that, dude. You're an evil son of a bitch, and you're just used to getting what you want all the time the way you want, and you're out, you're off your rocker, dude. The world is just your plaything, and everybody is dancing for you. And here's the thing, dude. We are. Why? Because there's more of us than them. And and the people that came up with this system that we go by in the United States, dude, like, this ain't the way they like, there's literature out there that we're even taught in school, right? Oddly enough, we just don't harp on the Federalist Papers as much. But there's words in there that says, hey, when it gets where it's at, it's time. Like, right. like you need to start over. But
yeah, there's a reason. What is it? I think it's like the Declaration's like the longest standing governing document, because most don't last this long before shit just starts turning into exactly what it's turned into. Yes. So yeah, it's bananas, dude. On the church thing, if you haven't heard, there's a dude named Wesley Huff. That dude, he did an interview with Joe Rogan. That's where I heard it. I don't obviously know a ton about the Bible, but this dude goes back. He's trained in like all those old languages. He goes back and reads these scrolls, and it's super Hebrew. Cool to hear. Yeah. Yeah, and he like calls out some of the stuff you're saying, and then he like, also validate some of the other stuff that people are like up in there. He's like, no, this part is word for word verbatim translated. This other part, yeah, they like mashed that up or whatever. So you'd probably get super interested in, hearing some of that.
What is
way over my.
Say it one more time.
His name Wesley Huff.
Okay.
Dude is super impressive. Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, obviously not even knowing some of that stuff. It was a deep podcast, but he was on. Yeah, he did that on Joe Rogan, and he bounced and he hit all like the sub podcasts and stuff like that. But yeah, I would check it out. I think you'd be interested. No, I was gonna bring up something before on the insurance piece. So two things I think people will find fascinating. So I worked when I was at the corporate job, I worked for an insurance company for over 6 years. And something like when you touched on all these people, you'd be surprised how many people I hear say like, oh, I'm going to file this claim and then I'm just going to switch companies because this company's going to jack it up.
Yes.
And like you touched on, like most people don't know this. Everybody knows they have a credit score if you use credit. Everyone has an insurance score as well that they all share.
Yep.
Like they all agree, like I'll share all of my clients' data with you as long as you share it with us. And it's like this massive cool kids club that, unless you're one of these like tiny little companies, dude, yeah, you think you're slick, but you're really like, you're just hopping, like you're under the same umbrella. You just get a new name and t-shirt and you're paying the same price. So that blows people's minds usually. Another thing on the piece file, like, everybody thinks insurance is like you have to have insurance. What are you going to do about insurance? Like I'm in the entrepreneurial space. I network with pretty much exclusively entrepreneurs. And that's like the big hang up everybody has. It's like I'm starting this entrepreneurial thing, but like I don't want to leave my full-time gig because what am I going to do about benefits? And when they say benefits, they really just mean health insurance.
Right.
So there's been a couple people who have stepped away, which you'll never have to worry about this, because you did the right thing there. But there's a couple people, and this blew my mind. If you don't have insurance and you go to the doctor, you go in for a procedure, and you tell them, hey, like I don't have any insurance, there's a completely different rate schedule. Like you pay a completely different pricing than you do when you're under insurance, and it's like super affordable. Like when they started sharing it with me, like, oh yeah, I went to the doctor.
Say again.
Like it's
if
you
less?
go and say like way less, dude, way less. Like it's insane. You go in there and say like I don't have insurance, I'm paying out of pocket. Because they know what else are they going to do? Turn you away? No, they're going to get something out of you and still treat you because you're there. I mean, you're still a client. And now there's certain things
despite
like
that medical oath they took to do that first. Anyway.
Oh yeah, don't worry about that. But yeah, I mean,
that being said,
things,
I do have a bunch of doc buddies out there and friends of mine. They know they know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, I mean, you should obviously respect the hell out of all doctors. It's just these ones that. And it's really not even the doctor's fault. It's the system that they're in. When you're in these, you're basically in corporate medical world when you work for these big hospitals. And I'm sure they would all, in their heart, they want to help people.
And here's the deal, dude. What you're talking about, right? So I didn't know it was cheaper, which is crazy. But I did know that, that doctor reserves the right, to refuse, right, said client. And more times than not will, for the simple fact that people were driving in their cars wearing masks, right? And like you get that one Looney Tune dude and you treat him and like it, because make no mistake, dude. Yeah, there's tests and imagery and all this stuff they can do, but at some level, it's a guessing game, right? It's a guessing game. And so, yeah, that thing just like with Kim, right? Oh, the antibiotics, the first ones we gave you, not good enough. Need to give you more. Well, you got Joe Blow that's just coming out of his pockets, cheaper or not. He's pissed because why didn't you get it right the first time? And now he sues. Or he makes some kind of claim and then your medical license is up for examination. And so, which is a very slippery slope for those docs. I've seen that several times where if they even because there is a chart that says you will do ABC first, and then you go
right.
da 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 da. And if you stray from that and someone calls your hand, then you could lose your practice. Again, rules put in play by who? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, and just one caveat on the insurance being cheaper. Now that's not saying because these guys have gone in there and I want this XYZ surgery, and they're like no, if you don't have insurance, you're not doing that. But when you go to the doctor's office or you need a prescription or something,
right.
Those rates are a lot less. I mean, aside from the copay and all that deal, but that blew my mind. But
yeah.
Aside from that fact, health insurance is actually, I mean, it's a lot more affordable than people think. I mean, obviously, unless you have some condition where you have, but for a healthy person, like I think most of at least our generation now is like most people don't want to go to the doctor unless they're about to die. Like if I get sick, I'm gonna
Some
try all the
people
other
won't go
crap we have
then.
to do. Yeah, I mean, so if that's kind of the camp, you're healthy, family's healthy, you don't have any conditions, like health insurance is pretty affordable. So to see you get stuck to these golden handcuffs for so long,
Yeah.
because of this thing that you don't even know. Most people won't even go out and price it to see, okay, I'm
Right.
staying in this job that I hate because of this mythological benefit, but at least go see what it would cost you out there. Can you make that extra money? I don't know.
Right.
That's a big gripe of mine.
Which is funny too, because when you're filling out for that medical insurance, dude, like you better answer that you're the most healthiest person, never had a drink or smoke.
man.
You know what I mean? Like you to qualify for some of these companies, dude, it almost has to, at the end of your survey, it pretty much has to come to the conclusion that you don't need health insurance.
All right, yeah. Oh, we got it.
Yeah, you're our favorite
Let's sign you
customer.
right
Yeah.
up. Yeah, fucking, this is insane. But let's get back to this topic. I want to say a couple more things here. Like a big caveat is some of my best friends in the world like went to these Catholic schools and best families, and they're the ones who they're just as mad as I am that there's this like these other people who like the lingerers and the people who just put their foot in the water just to play the game.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the families like I'm great friends with, like they go there for a reason. They they send their kids there. They really believe in it. They work hard. They put all their money in to send their kids there. And then you got these other clowns who, it's just, checking the box for them and you have to go. And something super interesting that's really stirred this pot, at least in my little community. All right, so some government, I don't, maybe just state specific or my county specific, but if your city school district that you live in doesn't meet certain grades on this certain test, I'm not an expert in it, but then you are allowed to enroll in this Catholic school and not pay any tuition. So I'll say that again. So like
Yes,
basically
please.
if your city school, like the public school available to you is failing these certain curriculum, whatever, then at that point it's pro-choice or no, not pro-choice. EdChoice. EdChoice. So if you classify for EdChoice and you make like under a certain income, basically you get to go to this school for free. And you're sending these city school kids in there and interacting with these other families.
That's a dangerous.
You're interacting with these other families who have been, working their tail off to pay for this. This is like a college tuition to send a kid through high school there. You know what I mean?
Right.
And not only that, there is very limited space there. So now we're starting to come up to these like conundrums where it's like, okay, well, I had a plan for, my two kids to go here. My oldest son is a senior. My next kid's coming up to go to this school. Oh, well, like he didn't get in because everybody else, like the floodgates are wide open. And it's like my whole family tree's gone here. Now like, I'm trying to send
There's
both
no
of my
like
kids
kind of
there.
locked in thing. Like you've progressed.
Dude, it's
through-
supposed to be, man. It's like it's supposed to be a hierarchy. Like one,
Yeah.
you go to the church. Like if you go to the church, you have a higher rank. If you have another kid in, you're a higher up. But we're starting
like
to,
a
and they
legacy
don't
thing.
share that. They don't share what that point system is. It's just like supposedly, you know what I mean? And now we're starting to see cases where it's like, oh, like this kid didn't get in. What are we gonna do? And it's like, well, I know a guy who his kid got in, and it's the first of his kind there. So, so anyway, I love those people. It's more of just the people who just go to check the box drive me fucking crazy because they think, I don't know.
Elaborate
So,
when you're
well,
talking check the box. Like you have to come from the school because it gets you to
Well,
this
it's basically-
university to
it's
get you. Is it that
no,
kind of?
because it doesn't do any of those things. I mean, it's just I think when you're out and about. When I say check the box, I think it's so the parents can go out in public and talk about, oh, my kid, he
goes
made
to
it
the-
in.
Okay, trekking. Yes.
Yeah.
No, trekking.
So
All right.
there's so much pressure on
Yes.
these kids to go there because their parents want to go out and tell other people that that they went there. So that part is frustrating. The other part that I guess I wanted your insight on, because it is a great school. Like, I mean, there are a lot of good kids that went there. However, I went to school with a guy who's in jail for rape, raping a young little girl, like who also graduated there in my class. Like I knew him. And there was also a kid in my class who went with honors and went off to an Ivy League school. Like, so my point is, like, obviously this school is probably better academically, but can you succeed in both? Yes. Can you fail in both? I think it comes more down to parenting and actually like keeping a pulse on what your kid's into. But the big question that I have that I want to get your insight on is like, obviously that school is much more sheltered than sending your kid to public school. Like, you heard a lot of like the things that I went through, getting exposed to, some of these neighborhoods that you definitely wouldn't do if you went to this school. A lot of things like you went through. But my question is that I keep coming back to is like, if you do decide to send them there for the sake that you want to shelter them, you don't want them involved in all that, when is the right time for your kid to be exposed to the real world? Because that's effectively what city schools are. That's the real world. That's what you're going to run into when you're out in public. If you see a fight for the first time and you're in college, is that better? Or you run into drugs or alcohol for the first time when you're in college, your parents aren't around, you have no support system? Or, hey, do you want to bump into those kids in middle school, start to figure out some kind of construct around how to handle that? I don't know the answer to that, but my gut says, like, if I could go back and be sheltered from all that and then have to learn about it later in life, I don't think that is the best decision either.
No, I mean, I think so. I think if you'd have asked me this, dude, like probably even as short as like 10 years ago, right, I'd have had a different answer. But I think as I've gotten older, what I've realized is that, take for instance, like music, right? Like people lose their mind over hip hop and explicit things and because the verbiage that's being used. They're not talking about anything different than what country music talks about. They just talk about it through their lenses. They're all talking about girls. They're all talking about partying. Mm-hmm. They're all talking about money. They are. Every right. One of them, even pop, alternative, everybody's singing the same song because we're all doing the same dance, right? It's just, it looks a little different. And so, like, to your point about like the exposure piece, right? And people will tell you this, especially like when you're talking Ivy League schools, right? Your community college kids are just doing cheap drugs, right? If you went to Ivy League school, you might have went straight to meth and tried to or whatever, crystal, whatever, some high roller thing, because you don't, like you didn't see a fight because you organized them. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it depends on where you fall in on the spectrum. So like people always are trying to, because I think we all live under this myth. Right. And the myth is that if I can get to this next class, right, I'm sheltering and protecting my kids from this other thing. And there's the only reason it's true is because of how much buy-in that thought process has. Right. Like even teachers will tell you, the teachers at my high school here will have told us, right, like, if your kid's not ready for the AP level English or whatever, right? Like the higher step, you still need to probably try to put him in there anyways, because if he takes the regular class, well, that's where all the crazies are and he'll be distracted and da-da-da-da-da, right? So, okay. So instead, you want me to put him in this higher level education that he's going to struggle and like be miserable in, because you already know you've tested them. They don't understand, but yet you can't get control of the other class enough to explain it. Like, what are we talking about here? Right. And the same thing goes with like when you're talking like these different social classes, right? Like, yeah, we want them in the public school because then they're getting exposure to gangs and, guns and da-da-da-da-da, because that's the tools that social economic class has, right? At the higher level, there aren't gangs, there's organizations and bureaucracies. There's not guns, there's disqualifications, not getting hired, voted out, right? Those are their guns. Those are the tools they play with. And while it looks more humane, it's just as cutthroat, right? And I mean, you might as well have pulled out a chrome nickel-plated pistol and shot them, because they're not going to be able to get a job and stay alive.
Do the same thing,
right? It's all, but it's all the same in the end, right? It just looks different, and the reality of it all is this goes back really, dude. this all ties back to my hate for money and that whole conversation, because like
that's coming soon.
Yeah.
We got to dig into that soon here.
It is the biggest manipulator of, it's the whole reason. It's the whole reason that all this exists, dude. Because because we have made it so that like this supposedly keeps you safe. And let me tell you something, that is the biggest fallacy, because I can tell you it's like an alarm system, right? Guess what, dude? You can get the best alarm system you want. You can triple deadbolt your door. You can buy the best windows and locks and da-da-da-da. Desperate people get in, right? Like if I want to come in, I'm coming in. It just means I can't be quiet anymore. I'm driving my beater straight through your front door, and I'm taking it all because you've put me out. And now I'm down to my last. It's the same as like, you could take the friendliest dog in the world. You back them in a corner enough times, they'll bite, right? Put them in a cage and poke them.
That's a fact.
They'll stop, right? And which is hilarious, right? Because like all these people pulling these strings, and they're like, gated communities in these big houses. Let me tell you, dude, everybody's touchable doing this stuff.
Oh man,
some way when it hits the fan, like people will find a way. It's just. Which is why they're trying to get to Mars and leave our. But dude. So I think you're, in a sense, you're really just kind of picking your poison, right? Like, and of course, the other one has more longevity and security, right? Mm-hmm. The posh side has that, right? Because it's nice. It's the reason, like, dude, what's your favorite grocery store?
I mean, the one I go to the most.
No.
I don't even
Not the one you go to the most. You've been around. I'm trying to pull from your like military time, right? Because you've been around. You've seen different ones. TDY, da 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 da. What's your favorite?
Probably Publix, man.
Mine's Harris Teeter, dude. It's kind of a tie. It's a tie between Harris Teeter and Lowe's, right?
Lowe's
Foods. Yeah, it's a North Carolina.
I never heard of that.
Yeah, it's a North Carolina thing. There was one that came up in Charleston and Somerville. Yeah, okay. Super swanky, dude. Just like Harris Teeter, except instead of the Starbucks, they have a craft brewery up in there. And let me tell you something. Yeah. That's brilliant. They had cup holders in the buggy. Bro, you walk around and have a couple of IPAs grocery shopping. That cart fills up. Dude, you're just I want to eat all this. Like, got a buzz going. Yeah. You remember Joey? Buff Joey.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, you know how many times Joey would call me on a weekend at Lowe's grocery shopping and been like, yo, I came to go, because he's single. And he'd call me up and be like, yo, Cotton, I was just trying to go get a few things at the grocery store, and I'm not okay to drive. Can you want to? Yeah, dude. And he'd be like, "You want to hang out?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah, dude!" And we would just kick it at the grocery store.
You want to come shop?
Like, you could get a growler.
Hey, I'm just going to get some groceries. I'll be back.
I'll be right back. And by right back, you're gonna have to come get me in a few. I'll have the groceries though. But so those are my favorites. You know where you will never find a Lowe's grocery store or a Harris Teeter?
Where's that?
In any low income food stamp welfare community. Never. You will find a Piggly Wiggly. Sure. You will find a freaking name your dirtiest, nastiest, got nothing but Spam and ham hocks on the shelf grocery store, right?
Aldi's.
Oh, God, Kim loves the Aldi's, dude, and I hate it. But
they're trying to make a comeback.
Yeah. But nobody carries quarters anymore, so they're gonna lose. But dude, and again, it's all part of that game, right? It's like, so I do understand parents drive for that. What I hate is what you're talking about, dude, is exactly what we talked about. It might have been the last podcast, where it's like, why do I have to send you a Christmas card with a picture of my family acting like we're all happy every day? Why do I throw birthday parties and buy everyone else's kids a gift for my kid's birthday? Like, what, all these like keeping up with the Joneses BS, dude. And I think a lot of that has just gotten worse over the years. And at this level that you're talking about, that didn't used to exist, right? Because information access, bro. Like you didn't know back in the day that you know, the Johnsons, the Smiths, or whatever that you went to school with even went to Hawaii or had money like that to go on that family vacation. Well, now it's in your face.
Right.
Because regardless of economic, social class, or whatever, for some reason or another, right, because people are just crazy, everyone has an iPhone and access to social media, right, or a cell phone. You know, there's still people out there that you text and it's the green little bubble and you're wondering why they haven't figured out life. but you know what I mean? Everybody, you know, they can't find a job, collecting unemployment, don't have a car, but still have the iPhone 16 Pro somehow.
Damn straight.
Yeah, dude. And so I think that, honestly, dude, I think that's the reason, is because now it's just so in your face and easy to find out. It's the same as like if your business that you have right now, right?
Like the real estate, yeah.
Or the medical thing you're in with, whichever, right? You know, you have so many. But pick one, right? Say you're going to hire someone for a position, and let's say it's one that's more than like being friendly when people come through the door, right? Which is super hard to find now. But it requires like
hiring for that, right?
Yeah. And but it requires, you know, like it's an important role, whatever the role is, right? If someone sends you a resume, are you not then going to take all this free information that they provided you, plug it into the internet, and find out who they really are?
Dude.
Yeah, you are. And so does every other company. Even though there's some companies that will tell you like that, you know, there's a bunch that like, oh, you can't do that because everyone does it. Everyone does it. Absolutely, everyone does it.
Yeah, you said for important role, like every role, it doesn't matter, you know, what it is.
No, you're right.
The thing is, like, because I tell you right now, like, we're actively hiring for, you know, a receptionist, somebody that's in the space. If you can't find them on the internet, that's a red flag. Like, you get moved to I mean, I wouldn't, but in theory, like, somebody who's looking for you, let's say in a hypothetical situation, I was hiring for a receptionist. I have 5 like solid people I want to meet with. 4 of them, I found them, all of them. I can like do my research. This other one's like ghosts on the internet. Like, am I gonna take the chance to even like get into or no? You're gonna go with what you know, right? I mean, so you might as well like put your best foot forward and put it out there so where it's findable, or else like don't because then I'm gonna go in my mind and start thinking like, why aren't they? You know, what do they look like? How, you know, what question, like, why wouldn't you be on the internet? You know what I mean? Right. And you may have all good reasons, but I can promise you're better off just putting yourself out there. Maybe even throwing a picture or some background info, you know, somebody hiring would like to know. Especially if you look like a decent human being and you have like go ahead and just slap a picture on your thing so that you can just get all the awkwardness out of the way. And like, I mean,
do you know? Do you know they say that like, and I found, because you know I was recently fishing in the market that but I had several people tell me, because I would have people like look over my resume, make sure like it was good or whatever, or their opinion on it, you know. And I had like 7 people that came back to me and like, bro, your picture's on here, you can't do that.
What?
And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, no, you can't do that. Government positions, like GS spots, can't do it. Can't have your photo on there.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
Why? Why does it make sense?
I mean, well, it just makes sense that the government would have a system that's like that.
I agree with that. Yes. And yes, but even when I was doing the private sector commercial, they're like, no. Like, that's the verbiage that's going around. Like, no, you can't put your face on there, right? Because people were so like boneheaded, dude. The thought process is that now whoever the hiring person is a feminist, male pig, a racist, or whatever, because they didn't read the resume. They looked at your picture and they're like, oh my God, you got a MAGA hat on, you're in. Yeah, you know what I mean? Well, yeah. And so
I wouldn't put that picture on there.
Yeah, I wouldn't either, right? But you know, I mean, then again, if I was trying to get a job at some gun company, I might. But
yeah, you can play your cards
exactly, right.
The right way. Yeah,
dress for the job you want, right? It depends on all who you're appealing to. If you want to be a front desk person at Tesla, like you know exactly what you need to do. You can't wear an oil T-shirt. But yeah, so
that being said too,
Go ahead.
if you do have social media and stuff, like I had this person apply who is like resume was like flawless. We have them do a little personality assessment, like, oh, perfect fit. Pull up Facebook, and she's sitting there with a blunt in her hand in her profile picture. I'm like, are you just that fucking stupid? Like, I mean, so at least, Google your name and see what comes up. Like, will probably be behoove you if you're applying for shit.
Yeah.
But,
and again, that's why people get in trouble, because they're like, well, you can't judge me for what I do. Da, 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 da. Look, no one's judging you, dude. And to be even more honest, most people are doing the same. But like, there's a thing called professionalism. And like, if you're going to put yourself out there, and if you're going to be like, I think where we really fail, dude, is not, these are the things that we should be talking about in our schools, right? And trying to explain, like, but God forbid that we try to, put any common sense into anything, which I guess, again, like, it's the same thing as like define normal, but I can tell you though, all this that I went off in at the beginning of this, if I don't care what your beliefs and views are, if you can't see that you're being played like that, come on. There's got to be so many, like, it's just, that's 2 + 2 = 4 all day. Like, it's just such bull crap, dude. And to your biggest frustration, man, I hate to tell you, but we can even go right back to this last example. Like, you go to pull that search, right? And old girl went to that school. Well, you know something about them, right? Now you don't know that they nabbed a spot from somebody that's been going on. You'll never get that much context in history, right? Ever,
right?
But it's just like you. No one will ever truly know you the way you do, right? Your parents know you a certain way that might be deep and whatever. Your wife knows you another way that's super deep and intimate, but you're the only one who really knows, like, your whole journey and all the secrets and all the stuff and things, right? And so you'll never get the full context, but like, that's why people play that game. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is 100% just to say that, like, well, yeah, I'm at such and such, la-di-da, but that la-di-da transfers over, and because the game we just play with each other as people, man. I you know what? I'm so proud of, like, the folks that I work for currently, dude, and the company I'm in, and like, bro, and I shouldn't even say the company I'm in, dude, because I don't know, like, you know what I mean? Like, hopefully they're still going after the vision that they started with, and they're not now just chasing, a certain number in class. I know that here comes a humdinger in my thing, and just in my, like, world, like Exos, premier sports performance facility, right, in the nation, and went international, and like, they were in the start, dude, they were all just full tilt on physical, mental, spiritual, like, just whole person wellness, like this, like, and were like, and had done the homework and the research, and were and executed this thing beautifully. And now, like, their main clients, dude, are like blue chip CEO owners. I'm not worried about the athlete at all anymore, dude. Their big ticket is they're chasing the big contracts.
Yeah,
it's like, damn, dude, you had this, like, nice thing, and then you got selfish. But anyways, to go back to hyping up my current team, dude, I just knew. So we've been doing coach interviews left and right, dude, and I found this stud, bro. This dude's like, I even told my boss, like, yo, check it out. Let me rewind just for a second. I'll make this quick. I know we're in it, but this is still on track, what we're talking about, man. But so when I started initially, the franchise owner, my boss was like, yo, you, like, this your world, this is your, your niche. Like, so I need you to go out and find, more coaches. I'm the only full-time coach, but he basically like, yo, go get your help and your staff, blah, blah, blah. And so I did. He ran the Indeed site. So any resumes and stuff he got, he just punted it to me and he's like, hey, here's another one, tell me if it's good or not kind of thing. Right. And I would start with a phone call. And if the phone call went good, then I would have them meet me, later at the actual facility, and I'd show them the facility, and I'd, get to really figure them out, right? And I mean, sometimes, dude, I had cats, we were talking like 2 hours and change, And so anyways, I was doing this and no problems. I was pretty much, for the game that I'm in, dude, like the credentials aren't enough, right? Like you could be the smartest dude in the world. The clients don't care, right? Athletes don't care. Like they don't want to know the science and the anatomy, physiology. They want you to motivate them when they don't want to be there. You know what I mean? And they give a crap about how the blood's moving and everything. They don't care. It's just like make me look good naked, and which is hard. And that's the answer, dude. It's hard. You gotta get your ass to work. And so I was good, dude. Like I was plowing through it and very confident in my decisions and what was going on. And then I hit this one dude that I knew instantly that I wanted to work with, right? Like I had no beef with it at all. But I also knew that I was in the Catholic school. You know what I'm saying? Like I am. We are in a pinky out part of town, and I know the athletes and customers that like we would be dealing with. I know the parents of kids that would be coming up to our facility, and I know the stereotypes and the predetermined judgment and things that were going to come if we have this dude, right? And it was so funny, dude, that like for me it was automatic, like yes, like this dude's this brilliant. This cat's brilliant, right? And did I already talk about this on here?
No.
Okay,
you
good.
told me offline, I think.
Oh, okay. And so I had this like huge concern because I knew like he was going to come in and have to go uphill, right? With some people. And I just knew that because let's face it, dude, like if you tattoo your face, man, you've put yourself in a place and you better be the shit. Because that's just we're not totally there yet. And unless you have the gusto and the drive and charisma as Post Malone, like that doesn't pan out good for everybody, right? Not everybody's Post Malone, Jelly Roll, and right? Like it's become more common to see, but in those types of settings, right?
Right.
Someone rolls up to try to work for you and they have FU on their eyelids. Like, I mean, we're not looking for those kind of artists, And so my dude actually is face tatted, and like, luckily it's not a teardrop, but there's a mark under here. There's another mark under here. There's the Post Malones, and he's big, intimidating, like scary. And so I told my boss, I was like, hey, man, and this one dude changed the entire way that I ran the whole structure because I wanted him so bad, dude. But I also knew that like, yo, this is going to be all on me. And I've worked my butt to get to this position. I'm happy where I'm at. And I think there was a part of me too that just wanted to test the waters of my people I'm working with and kind of, you know what I mean? Kind of let me know like, well, who do I work for? Because none of us really know each other. We're all new in this, just met. And so I couldn't have been happier, dude. So I called my boss immediately after I met this dude. And I was like, yo, hey, check this out. I've been thinking, and I hadn't been thinking. This one dude changed the whole thing. But, you got to deliver. And I was like, yeah, I've been thinking. This is I'm glad that you trust me. I'm glad that like this is my field, this is my industry, and this is what I do. However, this is like our business that we're trying to get up and going. And your business as the owner, right? So like your name's on this, right? And I don't think that it is smart for us just to go off my social bias. Like, I think it's smart to use this the first filter, right, to get through. But out of the applicants that I've determined, like, yo, this meets the standard we need, then we need to sit down as a team and determine, like, does this meet our team,
right,
thoughts
right.
overall. And he is like, you know what? Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Which I don't know that we would have done had this dude not came across. And I honestly don't think we would have. I think he would have just went with what I said, and we'd have been rolling. And I'm so glad that it did go that way. And I'm so glad that, like, he's in the same headspace I am, because we sat down. I naturally, right, like a good employee. I mean, I gave him a pregame beforehand, and I was like, hey, this is what's about to show up, and like, just so you know, so you don't like feel the need to lock the door real quick or anything. Like, this dude's coming to talk to us. And I even told him, I was like, because again, dude, this is a small town. I know these people. And I was like, if this dude was to, and because he wanted, he's like, why are you like all spun up about this? And I was like, because I'm telling you, I know how the world works. I know people. This is why I do what I do, man, because I love people, all of them, even the idiots that don't know what the passing lane is. I still, I still love them. I don't want anything bad to happen to them. Do I want to run them off the road and into a tree? Yes, but I hope they're okay. And so I told him, like, as aggressive, I know, but I told him, I was like, look, dude, I know these people, and I'm telling you, if this man happens to get out of the car and to come teach a class, no one's met him. If he's not wearing a D1, I work here, coach apparel, like, all you're going to hear is cars like, clunk, 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 and like, and this is Florida, bro, the panhandle. You're also going to hear, like,
right.
like folks will be ready, dude. And it was so funny, dude, because when the dude did pull up, right, he was like, I had my back turned to the glass, so I didn't see him pull up. And he goes, oh, yeah, your guy's here. He said, yeah, he was like, yeah. I was like, yeah. And I turned, I looked, I'm like, hey, what's up, bro? And dude came in, and God bless, dude. My boss looked past all of it, right past all of it, and saw the charisma and the what you need in this game to be successful, not to mention not ignoring all the credentials he had, of which were plenty. And I think I was even more enticed by him, because I knew, like, I don't need to hear from him. I knew by looking at him, I knew from the digging I did online and what he had achieved to that time and moment, that this dude smiled at adversity and didn't just defeat it, like buried that crap 6 feet deep, bro, and like came out on top. And like, I mean, dude, it is just like a success story to me. And so it's totally that, like, they tell you never judge a book by its cover, but there's also a saying that goes,
but everybody does.
Yeah, they do. Because the others, there's on the other side of that coin, dude, like, I don't remember what it says because I'm on the other side of that coin. There's something about a fool's folly, like, like there were like 3 don't go in here warning signs, and you walk past all of them. What do you think was going to happen? Yeah. You know what I mean? Right. Like, and so there's that side of the thing too. And I am a romantic dude and a dreamer. And like, I love to assume that everyone is meaning well, and it's burnt me a few times. It really has. And that'd be a story I should tell you about the credit card Blockbuster story one day. Oh my God. But yeah, it's burnt me in the past a few times, but I still like to believe that most people are good, and they're acting the way they have based off their personal experiences that were something that was bestowed on. Like, they didn't choose for whatever to happen, right? It's the same as like most people that are abuses were abused, Right. But yeah, dude, my man's like saw the same gold that I saw, and like that it finished. Dude got up and left, and my boss man was like, nah, man, 100%. Like, that dude's amazing. And he's like, it is. you're spot on for what you were thinking. And you know what? Everybody else is just going to have to figure it out like we did. Or they're not, and they're missing out. And I was like, yup, just tell me when to bury the body, dude. I got your back. Like, I'm all in,
right.
Gang.
Dude, I think that kind of relates. I mean, even to bring a full picture, that I mean, obviously he wasn't a part of those higher social classes. So it proves that, like, in my opinion, yeah, I believe the same things. Like, you judge somebody by what they do. For me, post high school, like, what have you done with your life when the ball's been in your court, not somebody else choreographing what you do, like where you go to school, what you do. And it's exactly what made us who we are, what made that guy.
Yes.
He's been through it. And so I guess to put a bow on the whole thing, and to put some context that I probably should have said in the beginning, I grew up in this same town. I went to the city school, married a girl that went to the other school. So, I mean, I have some good context, like, happily married. I love a lot of people, have a lot of really good friends that go there. So I'm not dogging people that go there, but even the people that go there, they know who I'm talking about. And the big thing is, if you decide to go there, that doesn't mean you get to quit being a parent because, like, oh, wash your hands. I'm sending them to the smart people school, so they'll be fine. Because I know people who are in jail that graduated from that school. I know Ivy League cats that went to the school I went to. I also know a lot of people went to jail where I went to. So that's my point. It's not a
you're better than anyone.
Automatic. Yeah. And you're automatically going to be successful.
Right.
You do get a badass network, which also I heard Alex Hormozy say, which I didn't even think about, but it makes total sense. Like, most people don't go to Ivy League schools for the degrees. They go for, like, you're basically buying
the social club.
That net.
Yes, 100%.
You're in
100%,
that network for. Yeah,
so, you don't get on Capitol Hill, bro, without
scale.
Yeah, you don't get to break into the government. You don't get a shot at the presidency unless there are certain boxes checked, bro. You're never going 100%. To see someone go for they will never, dude. There will never be a cat that goes up for presidency that has not been to the and I don't know them all, but like your Harvards and there are boxes you have to check. And not only do you not only have to go there, but there's clubs even within the organization that you better be a part of. It's bananas, dude.
It is. But I know we're running along on this one, and I think I gave the cool story last time, but I got a cool fucking story before we wrap, unless you have one that's super proud of.
I just gave pretty much my cool story, dude.
That was
go team, dude.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear how that checks out. I mean, I don't have any doubts, but I love an underdog story too, and see, like, you know, put together kind of a team of underdogs. And I mean, it sounds like you guys are building something awesome. I fanboy out on Instagram, and it looks like the place is coming together nice. So you have to keep me posted on that. Did you hear about I'm trying to think how to drop this. There is. Do you watch Game of Thrones? You're a Game of Thrones guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you know in Game of Thrones the dire wolf, right?
Yeah.
You remember like the big white wolf that Jon Snow had?
Yes.
So those things went extinct like 10,000 years ago. Did you hear that they just reincarnated and brought them back?
No. Well, you mean like I know that they uncovered some remains. You're saying that they pulled cells, put it in a petri dish, and like
there are 3 living dire wolves today. Yes, they pulled DNA and the whole like genomic profile and put it in like a wolf, I don't know, stem cell or something. There's 3 of these motherfuckers on this like huge plantation. Like, I mean, how scary is that? But if you don't look at the bigger picture, just how fucking cool is it?
It is so cool, dude. It's so cool, and it's terrifying because like some billionaire is fixing to build Jurassic Park, bro, and we all saw how that went down. Like, oh my god,
it's coming to reality,
just like iRobot will be.
Yeah, I mean, we're going downhill on turbocharge, but it's gonna be a cool fucking ride on the way out. Right?
Bro, I can tell you right now, like, I probably as in love as I am with my dog, I wouldn't want to replace him. But I'm walking by some shelter and this cat selling dire wolf puppies. Like, I might have to get. I mean, that's just mean, dude. Walking down the street with you,
dude. And they're only so there's 2 boys. The first 2 or 3, they're only 3 months old and they're massive. And so they're like, these things are supposed to keep growing until they're like, I think like a year and 3 months. So they're like, we don't.
Where
know
do
how
you
big
following
these-
this on?
and
What platform?
Dude, so I gave you a Joe Rogan to listen to. Listen to another one. Just Google Colossal and Joe Rogan. This company called Colossal.
Okay.
They're the ones who made them. The CEO is actually like, he's actually very ethical and like going about this the right way. But to your point, like it's going to get out of his hands eventually. And they talk about all that. It's super cool podcast. You should check it out. So they're also like in the process of like looking at woolly mammoth, like bringing the woolly mammoth back. They created something to test out the woolly mammoth pieces that like the hair stuff. They created woolly mice. Like they put that hair gene into mice, and they've created mice with this like woolly mammoth hair. It's fucking bananas, dude. If you just Google woolly mice, it's fucking insane. But yeah, they're looking at bringing some of these endangered species back. And he goes deep in on the podcast. Check it out. But some of them, like he's only looking into ones that have like a ecological benefit. I guess the woolly mammoth did a lot of things like with the tundra that can help
balance back the ecosystem kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
He's not just bringing back. Unfortunately for you, I know you said that you want to go out getting ate by a saber-toothed tiger. He does talk about they're not looking at that because I think that's just like a mad carnivore. So
yeah.
I don't think that thing will never come back to eat you and take you out. But
the grizzly's still walking, dude, and they tend to win.
Yeah. Yes. Highly recommend everybody check out that podcast. That is definitely scary, but I mean, at some point you just gotta be like, "Damn, dude, science is cool, pretty fucking cool, man." Is cool. Like 10,000 year gap, and now like thing's just walking again because they found a tooth in a skeleton or something that they found DNA in.
Oh, and they built the dire wolf and then convinced you to wear your mask in the car.
There it is. Yeah. And they're still putting instructions on shampoo bottles. So
yeah,
there it is. But with that, final thoughts before we wrap.
Yeah, if you were offended by anything that was said, especially in the beginning of this, it wasn't meant for you anyways. You're the problem.
Hey, if you were offended, let's hear about it. Drop some comments because analytics, they need some help, man. So
right on.
Hey, bring it on. But with that, we'll catch you guys next time.